my symptoms prevented me from being a present mother. The shaking and the pain and the itching.
2016 is when my world came crashing down. I couldn't control it.
We want to turn now to a series of stories that we are doing this week on how U.S. food regulations have left American consumers exposed to chemicals and additives that have been banned in other countries.
Toxic mold can grow and spread throughout homes.
In the last 30 years, obesity rates for kids have tripled.
What is officially the biggest health crisis in American history.
It's not just the food dyes, it's the emulsifiers, it's the conditioning agents, it's the preservatives. We've been running the largest uncontrolled science experiment on humanity for 50 years.
We are being absolutely destroyed by chronic disease.
Of course, the regulatory agencies do not want to look at this issue because the entities that are creating these toxic exposures are politically powerful. Chronic disease accounts for 92% of deaths in this country, and almost nothing is studied at NIH about the etiology of our chronic disease epidemic.
Every fast food chain, Burger King, McDonald's, you name it, they're all using these oils.
And what they do is they cause the cell membranes to inflame. They cause the cell membranes to really lose something called fluidity, which just simply means they don't function the way they should.
God designed your body to heal. Let's treat it as such. Let's give it what it needs to heal, and more importantly, let's take away the things that are stopping it from healing.
Currently, he's sought after as a speaker, a trainer of physicians, and an educator on the importance of cellular detox. Welcome, Dr. Pompa. Thank you so much for being here.
Is healthy the new sick?
When you look at the statistics in this country, you might say that.
What's your health journey been like? Because usually people in the health field, some kind of crisis in the past they'd overcome.
Yeah, well, that was me. Just started with fatigue. I just thought I was overtraining, overworking. 2 young kids at the time, right? Busy practice. And I was also training for bike racing. Then I started getting this weird anxiety, and that was not normal. Insomnia, where I couldn't sleep. Then it was panic attacks. Then it was sound sensitivity. I became someone who I wasn't. I was digging for an answer. I was chasing my adrenals, my thyroid. I was crumbling. I found something called Mad Hatters. People making felt hats were using mercury as part of the process. I had every symptom. I had a lot of mercury buildup in my pituitary, hypothalamus. I had silver fillings, which contained 50% mercury. My mother had silver fillings. My cells were massively inflamed. The mercury was filling, my cells were losing their ability to get rid of toxins, my bucket overflowed. I call it a perfect storm. I was training a lot on my bike, the low-grade mold and the mercury, boom, 3 stressors, bucket overflowed. I end up sick, scratching my head. Most people would end up on a list of medications. God gave me the answer, not just for me, but for others.
My name is Craig Snyder. I'm a physical therapist. I've worked in healthcare since 1998.
Hi, my name is Connie Snyder, and I am a formulation scientist, so I have a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences.
I've struggled with things from asthma as a child to migraines in my high school years, cardiovascular issues in young adulthood, to the point of they suspect that I had a heart attack in my late 20s. It was fall of 2022 is when I was really noticing the lack of mental focus, the lack of the ability to recall things. I would go to bed and then wake up sitting on the dock of a pond that was on the property outside, and just not know how I got there.
Yeah? Why'd you decide to cook so late? It's almost 1 a.m.
Would you stir it?
How are you feeling right now?
Just tired.
And it just became this mystery that I kind of had to piece together. Me being a scientist helped, because I would get sort of these data points and then try to put it all together, and then I would go online and research.
I don't remember anything about the argument that led up to me leaving the house. My last memory of that day was me sitting on the couch watching television, and I'm in a hospital bed, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. The nurse is telling me, "You broke your back."
He just left the house abruptly and was sending strange text messages. My daughter and I picked her up from school, and I just told her, I'm like, I don't know where your dad is. I don't know what's going on. And then we came down this road by our house. There was a bunch of police, an ambulance. I just asked the woman in front of me, what did the car look like? And I knew it was him. He was diagnosed after the first accident with multiple personality disorder. And, he suffered some trauma when he was a kid. And so they chalked it up to that. Okay, it's your trauma that caused this disorder. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, what are we gonna do? I don't know who my husband is anymore. I mean, it's gonna be like a different husband. My daughters and I, we would give the personality a different name. So it was Craig, or it was Greg. We gave the angry one a different name. I said, hey girls, Greg is here. And they'd be like, okay, we're going to our rooms.
I just started losing hope, like maybe I'm not supposed to be healed. Maybe I'm supposed to suffer.
It was heartbreaking, but just seeing Craig come through, it was unbelievable. We would have moments where we would just cling to each other and just cry. And he just told me, I'm sorry. And I said, it's not your fault. And I said, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, and I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. And you're going to come through every so often, and we're going to embrace that. But when you go away, I'm still here for you. I'm going to fight. I'm going to try to find out what's going on. And it was hard. Sorry. It was hard, but we had those amazing moments that pulled us through. And again, God pulled us through.
Okay, I'm Lee Rose. I'm 44. I have a 19-year-old daughter, Ava. She's special needs in my world. My whole life I've always been like a super motivated, productive, fun, life of the party type person. All that changed when I started getting sick. It was miserable, but I had learned how to manage it through therapies, yoga, being active, meditation, supplementation. I was completely able to live a normal life, get my job done, take care of my daughter, and push through. It was until 2022 where I was unable, I was debilitated. There's no other way to put it. My first batch of symptoms were the GI. Those affected me greatly. It was what I could eat, where I could go. For me, the bloating was a huge thing, so I was so insecure about that at all times. Neurologically, I couldn't touch or pick up anything because of the shaking and the pain and the itching, and obviously there's no sleep when you have all of this. The fear that comes over you that symptoms will strike is, sorry, I even get emotional about it, that symptoms will strike prevents you from, you become a prisoner of your home. You can't commit to anything because, you don't know if you'll sleep, you don't know if you'll have a migraine, you don't know what it could possibly be. There was about 6 months where my symptoms prevented me from being a present mother. I never knew depression until I lost my health. I was overcome with fear that I couldn't take care of my daughter and my home. I never knew depression like that. And it's a very, very scary thing. There's so many surprises that come along with becoming chronically ill. Having the realization that everything that you are diagnosed with, there is no known cause and there is no known cure, and that is the rest of your life. That is one heck of a surprise. But then when you find out that that's all false, that's the best surprise that there is.
My name is Dewana Young. I'm known as, I guess, the barefoot gardener. I grow my own food, I garden, little homestead. I'm married to the love of my life of 45 years. So I was raised pretty tough. I was raised in the middle of the Kisatchie National Forest in central Louisiana. Left home when I was 17. I should not even be sitting here today. One doctor even told me, "You're too stubborn to die." And I said, "Well, Doc, I want to live." I woke up one morning. I was shaking. I can't even repeat it. My hand was just trembling, and then I couldn't control it. And I can't feel anything on the right side of my body, and gibberish. I wasn't even making words, and in my brain I'm speaking. I ended up with having 2 strokes, and then the tremors came, and then one day I woke up and the legs shaking and the hands shaking. I couldn't stop it. I went through 2 neuromuscular centers in Houston. They literally used the word enigma. So I contacted Mayo Clinic, was immediately accepted, flew to their neurological center, a week there. There was a neuromuscular doctor they told me was there, and he was one of the top 5 in the world. And he said, I don't know. I don't know what's destroying your central nervous system. I don't know what's killing you. In fact, he said, it's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack. When the best of the best tells you that, whew, I dropped hard. It became very dark for me. Things mentally and emotionally just crumbled. And that loving husband that I loved in my family so dearly, I couldn't stand to be around him anymore. And I didn't know why. And I remember times I just would try to push him away. I even left him. I would cry because I loved him, but I can't stop it. Sometimes I'd just go drive my car in the middle of a field and just sleep there because I just needed the peace and quiet. I just needed to stop everything. I just didn't understand. I literally thought I was going crazy. You have to somehow find some hope and grasp onto it. This is where Dr. Pompa came in, and he put all the pieces of the puzzle together for me. I had a piece here and a piece here and a piece there, and he just took the pain, the emotion, the trauma, the unhealthy foods, and he just put all those pieces together for me.
Can you fast brain fog away?
That was her, believe it or not. I'm not a proponent of just one diet. You end up what I call the medical treadmill. It's this drug now causes symptoms. You go to your doctor and you're going, hey, I have this symptom, I have this gut issue. And instead of realizing it was the medication that's actually causing this gut pain, they give you another medication for the heartburn. Oh, that's causing something else. And then they put you on another medication for that symptom that drug's causing. And you wonder how people end up on 5, 10, believe it or not, even 20 medications, right? A box full of pills that they can't function without this box of pills.
It was probably somewhere in the area of $15,000 just in Western medicine expenses.
They were just masking symptoms, but they weren't getting to the real problem of what was going on.
Having all these negative symptoms, obviously all the specialists want to throw a prescription at you. You have insomnia, I'm going to give you trazodone. You have anxiety, I'm going to give you Klonopin. You have ADHD, you have and then you add the autoimmune drugs into that. I see why people that are chronically ill are very prone to addiction. I get it, and I think that anybody that says that there's not a higher suicide rate for people that are that sick are full of it.
My saying is, if you fix the cell, you get well, right? And to my doctors, I'm saying, docs, if you don't fix the cell, you're not going to get well. For years, I've told my doctors that something that they can do as a starting point for everybody, all their patients, is we call it the cellular inflammation test. It's actually more accurate even than a blood test. Why? Because it's more specific for the cell membrane. And it's a take-home test. Matter of fact, we'll make it available at the end for everybody listening. But that's the starting point. Because if somebody has cellular inflammation chronically, meaning you can move in and out of that, but chronic cellular inflammation, that's why people don't feel well. That's why the anxiety starts. That's why no energy. That's why their supplements aren't working, diet changes are working, weight loss resistance, right? So if someone does have cellular inflammation, and that is the great question, is how do you know? Well, it's a simple test. And like I said, that's where we start. When that gets inflamed and damaged, you can't get the good stuff in, you can't get the toxins out. Life and death begins on the cell membrane. All right, you're gonna see why the cell drawing changes lives. You're gonna see why you still don't feel well and why nothing's worked. So I've drawn a lot of cells like that. That's one of trillions of cells that are in your body. Okay, but here's what I want you to see. This cell membrane has everything to do with what comes into our cells so we can feel well, and what needs to come out of our cells so we don't have symptoms and develop diseases, have energy, etc. But what if something has caused inflammation of that gateway, so to speak, the cell membrane? Okay, you probably heard inflammation is the root cause of all disease, right? Heart attacks, diabetes, hormone problems, all of it. Yes, even constipation, believe it or not. But our cell membranes, life and death begins on these membranes, and so does our health. Even the ability to lose weight literally has more to do with these membranes than anything. Okay, so here's the thing. When the membrane is inflamed like this, and by the way, the number one, this is important, the number one cause of our cells to become inflamed are toxins. There's other reasons, but toxins are the number one cause. This is a fatty membrane and toxins are drawn into it. Then it drives this inflammation. Problem number one, I'm going to give you 3 big problems. When that happens, you can't get the good stuff in. And here's the other problem. You can't get the bad stuff out. What do I mean by that? Meaning you can't get the nutrition in the cell that we need to feel good. So therefore, diet doesn't work, expensive supplements doesn't work, all the stuff you're taking doesn't work. But a bigger problem is what's not coming out. Our cells are meant to get rid of toxins day in, day out. Otherwise, we die. In every cell, we make energy. Just like burning wood in the fireplace, you make smoke. If the damper's open, no problem. Meaning, if the cell's not inflamed and the toxins come out, no problem. But when we make energy, which is ATP, in our mitochondria, that's the powerhouse of the cell, these toxins start building up in the cell. And again, if they get out, no problem. But what if they can't because of an inflamed membrane? Now we're building up these toxins in the cell. And you know what happens? Energy keeps going down. You know what happens if energy keeps going down in the cell? Besides the anxiety, besides the constipation, can't sleep, all the things we're talking about, brain fog. We don't want toxins building up in our house or our cell. Well, what happens next is, yes, the energy drops, inflammation keeps going up, but here's the bigger problem. In all of our cells, we have our precious DNA. Epigenetics, it's called, meaning you didn't just get diabetes or the thyroid condition or the autoimmune condition because mom or dad had it. It's not that simple. These genes, they get triggered. You turn on the genes. The number one thing, this isn't my opinion, the scientific literature shows it, the number one thing that turns on bad genes is toxins building up in the cell. Okay, so we're building up toxins in the cell. Can't get the good stuff in, the toxins out, but one more bad thing happens, and this is why nothing's working. Every hormone receptor is on this cell membrane, whether it be testosterone, whether it be thyroid hormone, insulin, estrogen, progesterone, doesn't matter the hormone. These hormones have to attach to these receptors, get themselves in the cell or their message in the cell. We feel good. Everything works good. No brain fog, no digestive issues. Do you understand? Our hormones is why we feel good or not. Here's the thing. What if something's blocking these hormones from getting in the cell or their message in the cell? Happened to me. So I had every thyroid symptom. Hair thinning, skinny fat, no energy, constipation, all thyroid symptoms, dry skin, right? Okay, went to my doctor. They measured my blood levels. TSH, T3, T4, all normal. They measured my testosterone. They measured every one of my hormones, normal. That was a bad day. I wanted something to be wrong. This is what they didn't tell me. This is what they're not telling you. Your blood levels can be normal or made normal. Maybe they're giving you hormones because they're like, look, your estrogen's low. Here's some estrogen. Oh, look, it's better in 2 months. I don't feel better, doc. This is what they're not showing you. If it can't get in the cell, this is where the magic happens. The hormone message of the hormone has to get in the cell. If the blood levels are normal and it can't get in, it doesn't matter. We don't feel well, nothing works. Does that make sense? I want to show you one more thing. I had my team put this over here, okay? This is an example of what happens in every cell. So if we have 40 trillion of these, imagine this. Here's where most people are. Here's where I was.
Your bucket's full. You know what that's full of? Toxins. So imagine our cells like this. Okay, now here's the problem. A little bit of stress and that overflows. Yeah, that's the anxiety, right? That's the gut problems. That's the headaches. That's the pain. That's the not being able to sleep. A little bit of stress, physical, chemical, emotional, a little bit of more stress in your life. And all that coming out of that bucket is symptoms, right? But what if you could be here? This is where I am now. This is where I was. This is where I am now. Look how much stress I can put into this bucket now. No symptoms. You can be that way, but you have to clear the cells. And it builds up from utero. That's where many of these toxins start happening, from womb to the tomb. And once they hit this level, the only way to feel well again, empty the bucket.
He did the testing, and we were just shocked that he found out that he was in the 90th percentile of having glyphosate in his body, along with some heavy metals. His father worked in a battery factory and had lead poisoning. So we finally had the full picture of what was causing all this all those years, and it was just life-changing.
I knew I had been exposed to mold, but I don't think people realize. My house was full of black mold. It took us 6 months before we could find somebody to come in and even gut it.
All these years of going to specialists, not once did a specialist ever bring up breast implant illness. If anyone Googles the ingredients in an implant, it's absolutely repulsive. They're all neurotoxins. It's the first time I was like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I actually did some free climbing. 61, I did some free climbing, and wow, this feels so good.
After I had my explant, I woke up the next day, despite being in pretty severe pain from surgery, I could see clear. The whites of my eyes were white again. They were like a dingy gray red before. A lot of the silly symptoms I had, especially the neurological ones, were gone pretty much right away.
I feel the ability to participate in life. I was a non-participant for a couple years at least.
My daughters have an amazing relationship with him again. You know, now they know that it's Dad. It's Dad again.
You know, to want to go out and exercise together. I'm actually the one asking them to go to the gym now, and they're the ones saying, I'm too tired. You know, so.
Just being able to be a mom and a grandmother, and not being stuck on a couch or in a recliner, being able to just to plant a garden and live. I've got my life back.
Here I am, a completely different person than I was 6 months ago. I am so excited about what I can bring to this world.
When you have all of the world inside. Why would you look outside yourself when you have all of the world inside?
Most of the symptoms that people are dealing with today, whether it be the anxiety, the brain fog, the gut problems, it's not normal. It's common, but it's not normal. This is the start of a deeper rooted problem at the cellular level. That is the start of what we call neurotoxic mediated illness. Everything I'm describing at the cell, that's the start. You know how much easier it is to fix then without the years what I went through? If you have the general fatigue, do something about it. I have the answer for that. The test that I've told people to take for 20 years as a starting point is as easy as an in-home urine test. And then they get to go over it with one of our experts. But it's that easy. It's not a blood draw, yet it's that accurate. Every person in those stories once stood exactly where you might be standing right now. Confused, exhausted, searching for something, anything that actually might make sense. And for each of them, everything changed when they actually took this one single first step. Not into a health protocol, not into some complex treatment plan, just into clarity. They took a step forward, understanding what was really happening inside their body, and really, more importantly, what's happening inside their cells. And that's exactly what I want to offer you today. No pressure, absolutely not. No urgency, just an invitation. If what you've seen here today speaks to you, if it's made you even pause and think, could this be me? Then maybe now is the exact time for you to find that out. All you have to do is click the button below and learn more about the same first step that started their journey. Because when you finally know what's going on, that's when the real healing becomes possible. All you have to do, start. Click the link below. I hope you do it. I hope you take action for your sake, and I wish you all the best.